Greetings, Dr. Wolfula here with a short vid promoting an upcoming horror project you might be interested in. You know, it goes without saying that the 80s were a special time for the horror genre. It was a veritable second golden age for the genre when monstrous men became household names and stars emerged to match those of Karloff, Lugosi, and Chaney.
Groovy.
One of my favorite documentaries is Universal Horror, which was a tasteful, comprehensive examination of the early films of Universal that cemented the horror genre as a staple in cinemas, but there hasn't been a documentary on 80s horror to match it up until now. Going to Pieces was a good documentary, but it focused mainly on slashers and on a franchise-by-franchise basis. I'm pleased to say, though, that there is a documentary in the works claiming to be a definitive look back into what made the 80s such a magical time for terror. That documentary is In Search of Darkness. I was asked by the makers of In Search of Darkness to help promote the film's Indiegogo campaign, and the film seems to fit the bill pretty well as a definitive documentary on 80s horror, and not just the slashers that were oh so prevalent. Films covered within Search of Darkness range from the expected Friday the 13th films to all-time classics like Carpenter's The Thing, and even cult favorites like Reanimator. The documentary has the talent to back it up too, featuring extensive interviews with the likes of Kane Hodder, Bill Moseley, Sean S. Cunningham, Jeffrey Combs, Barbara Crampton, Heather Langenkamp, and Joe Dante. The film even has interviews with some prominent voices for the genre, you know, besides me, including famed drive-in critic Joe Bob Briggs and horror hostess Elvira. In Search of Darkness will explore just what about the 80s made it such a perfect time for the horror genre, from the advancements of practical effects allowing more effective bloodshed, to the cultural, political, and societal background influencing horror creators, and all the way down to the cool VHS covers that drew in a whole generation thirsty for some scares. Yeah, this sounds like my kind of documentary, and based on what the filmmakers showed me, In Search of Darkness looks like it'll be a deep dive discussion of the anatomy of 80s horror with professional interviews and a polished look. You know, I see a lot of stuff like this come along claiming to be the real deal, but the production of those films don't back it up, and they lack focus or a strong central idea. In Search of Darkness looks like the real deal though, which is why I decided to give it my endorsement here to help the filmmakers out and make it as big of a success that I can help it to be. In Search of Darkness could open the door for more solid horror documentaries in the future, so I want to see the film reach as wide of an audience as possible. I'm really interested to see how it turns out, and maybe you are too. If you are, the film's campaign is still live on Indiegogo, but you only have until March 31st to support it, which will get you a copy of In Search of Darkness in July, earlier than anybody else. You can get the film digitally, on DVD, on Blu-ray, and even with a bunch of memorabilia included. The documentary will also include extras, and there will even be two cuts available, a standard 90-minute cut and an extended 3-hour-long cut for the truly hardcore. Again though, if you want to watch the film early, you only have 3 weeks until the end of the month when the campaign ends. Let's help get this film to as many places as we can to educate the people on one of the best decades for horror. Click the link in the description to check out In Search of Darkness's Indiegogo campaign and show your support if you're interested. Thanks for watching from your old pal, Dr. Wolfula.